What is going on? Welcome back to the Underdog Investor audio experience. This is going to be part two of a series. The first episode, I was talking about profiting in the bull run when it comes to liquidity pools and participating in DeFi. Basically, what I talked about is the difference between single asset exposure, which in my opinion is the best when it comes to profits, because as we see the price of these assets move, if you're in single asset exposure, you'll get all of that price appreciation, which is great, right? But when we're in liquidity pools, if one of the assets in the pair is outperforming the other, the outperforming asset will be converted into the underperforming asset, which creates impermanent loss. And that impermanent loss is the killer when it comes to profiting most inside of a bull run. So, with that being said, I really like correlated pairs because it allows for a price appreciation of these two assets as they move up in value, right? You basically can maintain exposure of these two assets. But now it begs the question, well, how wide or how narrow do I set these ranges? And I get this question all the time, and it's a challenging one to answer because it depends. It definitely depends. Depends on the assets. It depends on the level of correlation and the volatility of those assets. Compares to there's a whole lot of things that we can talk about. But one of the things that I brought up on an accelerator call recently is I love correlated pairs, but for me, I set wider ranges even still with my correlated pairs. And somebody asked, well, why? Why do you do that? Well, I like wider ranges for my correlated pairs because, like I was mentioning before, if one of the assets is moving up faster than the other, let's use Bitcoin and ETH as the example. If I have a Bitcoin and ETH pool and Bitcoin is moving up faster than ETH, yes, I may maintain exposure to both those assets, which is great. And they're both moving up. So they're both appreciating in price, which is great. But if Bitcoin is moving up faster, that Bitcoin inside my liquidity pool is going to get converted into ETH, into the underperforming asset. Now, is that terrible? No, it's not terrible, but we are seeing less exposure to Bitcoin in that example, right? And if I set a narrow range, a really tight range, that Bitcoin will get converted into ETH even faster. And if that happens, then I'm not soaking up that price appreciation of Bitcoin because I'm losing exposure to it. If I set a nice wider range now, yes, I'm sacrificing my fees a little bit. I'd be earning less rewards because my capital is spread out on a wider range, right? And if you would like more info on that, I could certainly do a couple episodes on that for you. Um, but because I have a wider range, my capital is distributed on a thinner basis, if you will. So I'll be earning less fees in that wider range, but I would maintain better exposure to both of those assets. So if Bitcoin runs up against ETH for a short period of time, let's just say 3 days, 72 hours, right? 72 hours, Bitcoin is running and ETH is just holding steady and it's not moving up as fast as Bitcoin. If I have a wider range, that Bitcoin will get converted into ETH at a slower rate than if I had a tight range in that same time period. And so for me, even though correlated pairs, generally speaking, if they are very correlated, the charts will be moving nice and sideways, which means we can stay in range longer. So that usually means, people like to do tight ranges and maximize the fees that they're earning. But in times of mass price appreciation, when we're seeing Bitcoin print all-time highs and is seeing now some price discovery where it is trying to figure out, hey, well, what's the next level that this can reach? During those times and when all these other altcoins are rising with it, I want as much exposure to those assets during times of price appreciation. So for me, I'm willing to sacrifice fee generation just a little bit by doing a wider range so that I can maintain exposure to both those assets as they are running up in value. So I know the audio experience is sort of hard because I'm moving my hands and I want to show you visuals, and that's what we do inside the UIG and on the YouTube channel. So just make sure you tune into those two places. But on this audio experience, hopefully I communicated that well enough so that you can visibly see what I am talking about here. So if you're looking to maximize profits during this bull run, during the times of mass price appreciation, number one, I like single asset exposure, whether that be holding in a cold storage wallet or in a lending platform. And number two, I really like correlated pairs. That because of everything I've talked about today. And number three, I do still like the stablecoin pairs, like an example, wrapped ETH USDC or Sol USDC or SUI USDC. But just know that you are limited to the upside potential as that price appreciates through the range. And so for me, I've been using it strategically as a way to ladder out or dollar cost average out of those assets as they appreciate in value. To give you an example on that, if Sol is moving up from 160 to 200, or 220, I could take profit. I can strategically take profit on that Sol as it moves up through that range. Again, I can go through a whole nother couple episodes and a series on that if you'd like. But hop in the UIG, ask your questions, get the support you need, and let's profit together. With that being said, we will talk to you soon and see you in the next episode. Peace.